Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope we're all well and thank you very much for tuning in. In this video we are going to have a look at a performance comparison between fstraffic, AIG and FSLTL AI Traffic add-ons in Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is a question that has come up a lot in the last 24 hours and I found myself wondering the numbers myself. So I thought I'd put this video together for us all to have a look at. Before we get to the results, a few words about my methodology and settings used. Something that is important to consider given the complex nature of these add-ons. First, due to the different injection options and sources of data between them, it's really quite difficult to do a completely fair test. My idea initially was to test each of the injectors using the default settings as if they'd just been installed for the first time. However, during these initial tests, I noticed the distribution of traffic and ground services utilized was pretty disparate between the three add-ons. So in the end, I attempted to normalize each add-on to a roughly similar level of both. I felt it important to pay attention to the ground services too, as these will have some effect on performance. The settings I ended up using you can see on the screen now, and this was a difficult process, mainly due to the lack of control within the AIG Traffic Controller. Furthermore, I found AIG was consistently injecting less aircraft than both FSLTL and fstraffic. So whilst I was able to control this easily with FSLTL and had some control with fstraffic, I had to leave AIG at 100% activity level and try to match the others to somewhere close to the total number of aircraft it injected. I managed this within a margin of 6 aircraft and ground services used within a margin of close to 60. It was quite difficult also to accurately control the ground services with all add-ons, despite AIG and fstraffic having control over these, due to slight variations each time a new injection was made, and the base level of ground services that the sim had present before the injection began. Regarding the model set, for fstraffic and FSLTL this was easy. I ran the default library for these, but for AIG, unfortunately I didn't have any of their models installed initially. So again, to keep things simple, I went with their quick install option and installed the major commercial passenger and cargo flight plans. For the add-ons on test, I have both their model libraries and injectors installed onto the same NVMe drive I use to run Microsoft Flight Simulator, and other than these add-ons individually at the time of testing, the only other packages in my community folder were the test aircraft and airport, which in this case will be the PMDG 737-800 with no extra liveries, and MK Studios Dublin Airport. I had no other applications running via SimConnect except the respective injections when they were in testing, and Little Navmap, which I used to verify the number of active versus parked aircraft at the end of each test. I even disabled my exe.xml to be sure of this. I chose this airport mainly due to its location, its relatively high volume of traffic, and primarily passenger-focused operation, which I thought would give a fairer test given the lack of freighters in fstraffic currently, and the lack of proximity to other airports, meaning the injection would be primarily focused around this airport in all add-ons. Each of the add-ons required to do this test are all running their latest version at the time of release of this video. I've noted the version numbers for each in the video description. In the sim, I set my graphics settings to the high-end preset, as you can see here. And for the traffic settings, I reset these to default and changed only the traffic type and ground aircraft density to ensure the sim would not place any extra aircraft on top of the third-party injectors. For the flight setup, I selected stand 405 because this one essentially faces into the majority of the airport, the clear skies weather preset, and live time. With FSLTL being based on that, I felt that was the fairest option, and I do realise I could have matched the time exactly between tests, but with all the tests happening within a 30-minute window, I think the margin of error is likely to be fairly insignificant. And I ran the control test with no traffic at the very end to ensure there was as little time difference as possible between each add-on. Once loaded into a flight with the PMDG 737 with the apron panel state set to default, I started the injector on test and waited 5 minutes for the aircraft to fully initialize and to allow each injection method to get settled and FPS to stabilize. As a sim restart would be required between each test, to prevent any changes in the camera angles, I used the chase camera in its reset position. I then started a timer for another 5 minutes and recorded the results. On top of the clips you're about to see, I used MSI Afterburner to benchmark the FPS over that period. And the results are as follows. Here you can see each of the 5-minute tests with the sim's inbuilt FPS counter. These clips have been time accelerated slightly to fit into the rest of this video. To the left of the FPS counter, you'll see the sim's sim object counter, showing the total number at the top and the number of aircrafts and ground vehicles below. I've also listed the number of active and parked aircraft at the end of each test below that. As you can see, I managed to get the number of objects on test to quite a comparable margin. Although not listed here, I think it's useful to know that FSLTL and fstraffic both had a similar split of active airborne and ground traffic at the end of the test at around 50%, but AIG had all but one aircraft airborne. And the following graph shows the benchmark results from MSI Afterburner. So, what conclusions can we draw from this? On paper, fstraffic is performing slightly better than the two freeware alternatives, which are both performing pretty much the same, only with AIG showing a bit more variance over the 5-minute period. But given an error of margin, they're all very much in the same ballpark. All hit over 50 FPS, and the 9 FPS difference across the board isn't going to be a worry for most users. That being said, when compared to the sim without any traffic at all, the FSLTL and AIG figures appear quite a bit more impactful, with around a 20 FPS decrease compared to fstraffic's 11. I also think this shows that the perceived performance increase some are noticing in fstraffic over FSLTL specifically is mostly unfounded. I feel it's more due to the user's specific settings in those cases. As you may have noticed earlier in this video, I had to reduce the FSLTL numbers significantly from the default to get a similar level as fstraffic. But not forgetting, I had to reduce both FSLTL and fstraffic's default levels to get close to the maximum levels of AIG. And I think all in all, this test does show that when normalized, these three offerings all perform very similarly and offer similar levels of traffic. But there's no denying the fact that the potential for much more traffic, both en route and on the ground, exists within FSLTL only over the two offline offerings. And there we have it. I hope this video has shed some light on the difference in performance between these add-ons for you. Do let me know what you think of my test down in the comments. I certainly found it a very interesting comparison. And if this video did help you, make sure you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel for more Microsoft Flight Simulator videos and live streams. A big shout out to my channel members. Thank you very much for your continued support. Thank you all for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.